Keanu Reeves was spending a quiet day walking through the crowded streets of Los Angeles. Far from the luxurious restaurants and red carpet events familiar to celebrities, he strolled through an ordinary neighborhood. The warm sunlight illuminated the streets as Keanu's footsteps blended into the city's bustling background. Dressed in a simple black t-shirt, comfortable jeans, and sunglasses that concealed the weariness of years, he was almost unrecognizable. His signature baseball cap further minimized the chance of being noticed, yet there was an unmistakable grace in his walk that hinted at his iconic status. Keanu, who had deliberately chosen to distance himself from Hollywood's glamour, spent most of his days alone. The loss of his sister Kim at a young age and the tragic passing of his unborn child in 1999 had deeply shaped his outlook on life, leading him to seek more meaningful connections. These losses left an indelible void, pushing him to find solace in the simplest of things. That morning, his walk through Los Angeles' streets was less about escaping the crowds and more about reconnecting with a quieter version of himself. Turning a corner, his attention was drawn to an old, tattered poster. Large, handwritten letters read, "Hope for Young Artists." A faded blue arrow pointed toward an old building a few blocks away. A smaller note at the bottom read, "Art Exhibition." The amateur design of the poster intrigued Keanu, its simplicity piquing his curiosity. He stopped and looked at the poster, memories of his mother Patricia flooding back. Patricia had nurtured his love for art, often taking him to galleries in Toronto as a child. Those moments, filled with her encouragement to understand and feel the emotions behind artwork, were among the most peaceful of his life. "Art is not just seen with the eyes, Keanu," she would say. "It's felt with the heart." Her words often echoed in his mind. For a brief moment, Keanu closed his eyes and pictured himself as a young boy, holding his mother's hand while wandering through those galleries. The warmth of those days lingered within him, a comforting reminder of her gentle wisdom. Her voice seemed to whisper in his ear, "Keanu, your imagination will always carry you forward. Never lose touch with your feelings." Moved by these memories, Keanu looked at the poster again. "Why not?" he murmured to himself, letting his feet guide him toward the indicated direction. The streets he wandered down were quieter than the bustling avenues he had just left. Old apartment buildings, their facades marked with cracks, bore the signs of time and wear. Once vibrant, this neighborhood seemed to have surrendered to silence. Yet, in its stillness, Keanu found a sense of peace, as if he were walking through a forgotten chapter of his own past. This journey wasn't just about visiting an art exhibition. It was about reconnecting with the part of himself that cherished simplicity and emotion. As he approached the building, a small group of people gathered outside caught his attention. They held brochures, scanning them curiously as they entered. The building's exterior, with its peeling paint, hinted at decay, but Keanu felt something alive within. Each step he took toward the entrance heightened his curiosity. Maybe this art would rekindle the delicate connection he sought with his past. As Keanu opened the door to the building, dim lighting and soft music welcomed him. The intimate atmosphere of the exhibition felt worlds away from the artificial glare of Hollywood. His eyes wandered among the paintings. The vibrant colors, the intensity of the brushstrokes. Each piece seemed to tell its own story. Yet one painting in particular drew his attention more than the others. It wasn't just art. It was an emotion brought to life. The painting depicted a pastoral scene of a mother and child holding hands, framed by a setting sun on the horizon. The simplicity of the brushstrokes evoked both serenity and a profound emotional weight. The figures lacked defined faces, making them universal, inviting viewers to insert their own stories into the tableau. Keanu felt an inexplicable pull toward it, as if it spoke directly to him. Beneath the painting was a small note that read, "Love remains with us, even in loss." The words struck a deep chord in Keanu. The memories of his sister Kim and his former partner Jennifer Syme's tragic loss came rushing back. The void their absence left had never truly healed. Yet the painting didn't just evoke pain. It carried a glimmer of hope, a quiet reminder that love lingers in its own way. Keanu stood in front of the painting for a long moment, studying each brushstroke, as though trying to uncover the emotions hidden within. The lightness of the brush and the spread of colors suggested an artist who had poured their soul into the piece, a mixture of burden and release. This realization spurred Keanu into action. He needed to meet the artist, not just to express his gratitude, but to understand the emotions behind the painting. Perhaps their story would offer him a new way to make sense of his own losses. In a corner of the room, he noticed a young woman seated at a small table. She was speaking softly with a few visitors who had approached her. Her demeanor was both humble and tinged with a quiet sadness. A small nameplate on her table read, Lena Davis. Keanu walked over to her table, his signature gentle smile softening his approach. "Hello," he said warmly. "I wanted to compliment your work, especially that painting over there." He gestured toward the sunset tableau. "It's hard to put into words, but it feels as though you've expressed something I've been carrying within me for years." Lena froze for a moment, clearly caught off guard. Then, a shy smile crept across her face. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That painting is very special to me. It's hard to explain, but I wanted to honor someone I lost while creating it." Keanu pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "The person you lost. They must have meant a great deal to you," he said, his voice tender yet curious. Lena hesitated before answering. "Yes," she said softly. "My mother. I lost her a few years ago. She battled cancer, but in the end, she trailed off," her voice cracking slightly. "That painting reflects the last days I spent with her." Keanu noticed the pain in Lena's eyes. In that moment, an unspoken bond formed between them. Both carried the weight of loss, loneliness, and the lingering shadow of grief. Lena's voice grew softer as she continued. "She was my everything. No matter how hard life got, she taught me to stay strong and hold on tightly to the people I loved. But when I lost her, I felt so alone. I think I truly became an adult the day she passed." While painting that piece, I relived every beautiful moment we shared. Her words deeply resonated with Keanu. Lena's relationship with her mother mirrored his connection with his sister, Kim, who had fought leukemia for years before passing. That loss had carved a profound emptiness within him. Yet as Lena spoke, he found a sense of catharsis, as though their shared stories were bridging their individual grief. Keanu glanced at Lena's sketchbook lying on the table and smiled gently. "Art helps us process these emotions," he said, "but sometimes it also forces us to relive our hardest moments. Even so, seeing your painting reminded me of something important, that those we've lost never truly leave us. They live on in our memories." Lena's eyes welled up with tears. Keanu paused, giving her the space to collect herself. After a moment, she managed to say, "Your words mean so much to me. Sometimes I wonder if what I create truly matters. But hearing this from you, it gives me strength." Keanu nodded, understanding her sentiment. His own grief had taught him that creativity often serves as a lifeline, not just for the artist, but for those touched by the art. Their connection transcended words, anchored by a mutual understanding of loss. He motioned toward her sketchbook. "May I?" he asked. Lena nodded, sliding it toward him. As he flipped through the pages, Keanu admired the intricate sketches. One particular drawing caught his eye, a dreamlike scene of a woman walking on a beach. "This is beautiful," he said, pointing to it. "What inspired this?" Lena glanced at the sketch and took a deep breath. "It's from a dream I had about my mom. We were walking on the shore together, but something felt incomplete. I couldn't figure out what it was. Maybe it was her absence. But in that dream, I felt both peace and loss at the same time." Keanu absorbed her words, recognizing the bittersweet duality she described. "I've had dreams like that," he said softly. "When you lose someone, they find ways to live in your subconscious. They stay with you in your dreams, your art, even in fleeting memories." Lena nodded slowly. "That's why I draw," she said. "I don't want to lose her completely. But sometimes the weight of those memories feels overwhelming." Keanu leaned forward slightly, his voice steady but filled with compassion. "Carrying that weight isn't easy, but it's also what keeps their memory alive. My sister Kim taught me to hold on to life no matter what. Even now, when things get tough, I hear her voice reminding me to keep going. Lena listened intently, her gaze fixed on Keanu. His words felt like both a comfort and a challenge. My mom always told me the same thing, she said quietly. But sometimes being strong feels so exhausting. Keanu offered a reassuring smile. Strength doesn't mean never feeling weak, he said. Sometimes just taking the next step is strength. Continuing to create, to live, to remember. That's all part of the process. Keanu watched Lena absorb his words. For a moment, they sat in silence, surrounded by the faint hum of conversations and the soft rustling of visitors in the gallery. Yet, for them, the rest of the world seemed to fade into the background. Lena finally broke the silence. I never thought of strength that way, she said softly. Maybe you're right. Sometimes I felt like giving up, but maybe just holding on is enough. Keanu nodded. It's more than enough. It's everything. As the conversation unfolded, the sound of people gathering near Lena's painting caught their attention. A small group had formed, admiring her work and sharing their impressions. One woman spoke up, her voice thick with emotion. This painting reminds me of my brother. I lost him years ago, but seeing this, it feels like he's here with me again. Thank you. Lena froze, her eyes wide with surprise. She glanced at Keanu, who smiled knowingly. This is what I was talking about, Lena, he said quietly. Your art is a bridge. It connects people, reminds them of their own strength, and offers them a chance to heal. Lena's lips trembled as she whispered, I never thought my work could do that. Keanu leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice, so only she could hear. That's the power of art. It's not just about expression, it's about connection. You're giving people something priceless, a piece of yourself that helps them find themselves. The group near her painting grew larger, their voices blending into a harmonious murmur of admiration. Lena's cheeks flushed as she watched them, her confidence slowly blossoming. I always thought I was just trying to deal with my own pain, she admitted. But seeing them, it feels like I've shared something bigger than myself. Keanu smiled warmly. That's exactly what you've done. You've turned your pain into something universal, something that speaks to others. That's not just art, it's courage. At that moment, an older man approached the table. He introduced himself as a gallery curator from a prominent Los Angeles art space. Miss Davis, he began, holding out a business card. Your work is extraordinary. I'd love to discuss showcasing it in a larger exhibition. Lena's eyes widened as she took the card with trembling hands. I don't know what to say, she stammered. Keanu leaned closer, whispering, say yes. Lena looked at him, her eyes glistening with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. She turned to the curator, offering a nervous but genuine smile. Yes, that I'd love to. The curator smiled and nodded before disappearing into the crowd. Lena clutched the card, turning back to Keanu. This doesn't feel real, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's real, Lena, Keanu assured her. And it's just the beginning. As the evening wound down, Keanu prepared to leave. He stood, offering Lena a reassuring smile. Your journey is just starting, he said. But remember, no matter how far you go, the light you carry will always guide you. Lena hesitated before speaking. Thank you, she said earnestly. For everything. I don't think I would have seen this night the same way without you. Keanu chuckled softly. You would have found it, Lena, the light was always there. You just needed to trust it. As he turned to leave, Lena called out, Keanu, maybe one day, I'll paint a piece inspired by tonight. About you. Keanu stopped, glancing back with a grin. I'd like to see that, but only if it comes from your heart. Keanu purchased the painting that had sparked his connection with Lena, a piece that had touched his soul and reminded him of the enduring bonds of love and loss. He requested that the painting remain in the gallery until the end of the exhibition, so it could continue to inspire others. As days turned into weeks, Lena's exhibition drew an ever-growing audience, touching hearts and offering solace to those who encountered her work. Over time, her art transcended the modest gallery and gained international recognition, becoming a beacon of hope for people around the world. Yet, despite her success, Lena never forgot the foundation of it all. The night Keanu Reeves showed her the light she carried within herself. His kindness and quiet wisdom stayed with her, a reminder that even the smallest acts of support and understanding can ignite extraordinary transformations. Keanu exited the gallery, the cool Los Angeles night wrapping around him. He felt lighter, as though Lena's story had healed a small part of his own wounds. Looking up at the stars, he thought of his sister, his lost loved ones, and the people who had shaped his life. Lena's words echoed in his mind. Sometimes, being strong feels so exhausting. And yet, here they were, two strangers united by their grief, each finding strength in the other. Keanu smiled to himself, knowing that sometimes, even the smallest encounters could light the darkest paths. These words marked the beginning of a new journey for Lena from that day forward. She began incorporating not only her own pain, but also the stories of others into her art. Enjoyed the story? Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Let's spread the inspiration together.